Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Demon Slayer Season 1, Episode 3 of my show, but this is going to be of my YouTube series for it, but this is going to be about Episode 2. Now, Episode 2's storyline basically carries over from where the previous one left off, but before I get into the actual storyline of the episode, I just want to apologize for something. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded a video for this for the past couple of weeks. I've been really distracted with stuff. What I mean by distracted is, um, I've had a lot of stuff going on, like, well, I just had a couple of things going on that I was so focused. Anyway, that's my bad. Sorry, I'm just rambling there. Sorry, but anyway, this episode is gonna cover episode 2, which is called Trainer Sankanji or Kodaki. Now, the reason why it's named that is because it's named after one of the characters that gets introduced in this series that's gonna be a recurring character for some of the episodes. Anyway, and now that I brought him up, I'm just gonna mention this again very quickly. This episode is the first of 2 episodes that's gonna take place with him training Tanjiro basically and everything. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started. So, anyway, the way this episode starts off is it carries over from where Cruelty left off with Tanjiro. Basically, it's after the point in Cruelty where, after the end of Cruelty where Giyu lets Tanjiro and Nezuko go, and basically, like I said, this episode carries over from where that left off. Now, what I mean is basically it starts off with them back at their house and paying their respects, and basically like saying goodbye to their loved ones that are basically gone, and then they start on their journey towards for Tanjiro training to become a demon slayer because of the final selection thing. Anyway, while they're on their journey, what happens is Tanjiro tries to ask him in for some bamboo, and like he tries to get a basket ready for Nezuko because he wants to travel with her during the day, but he also knows that she can't be out in the sunlight because, again, like I said when I did the character bio on the demons and everything, they have a severe aversion to sunlight, and by that, if they come into contact with the sun, I'm just referencing something I mentioned in one of my previous videos because I brought it up anyway. When they come into contact with the sun, they burn. Like literally, like a major case of a sunburn. But on a much worse scale. Anyway, so basically he's creating a basket to basically carry her in so that he can travel during the day and keep her safe from the sun at the same time. Anyway, while they're traveling, they come across this like this shrine, like temple, like a miniature shrine temple area, like not a full blown big one, but like a medium sized one kind of thing. Anyway, and that's when Tanjiro his first encounter with another type of demon that is another version of a demon that's in the series. It's still the same type, it's just a different version of it. And he basically fights it, and this is where it gets funny. This is where it gets really, really funny, because, oh my god, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but, oh my god, I'm sorry, I can't help it. The scene is just hilarious, because what happens is, while he's fighting the demon, while trying to protect his sister from the sunlight at the same time, she comes out of the basket she's in and kicks the demon's head with such force that the demon's head comes right off of his neck. Oh my god. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't help it, but I gotta laugh at that situation because it's just hilarious. Anyway. Anyway, basically what happens is after that, after the demon realizes he's been killed by a little girl who's also a demon by getting his head kicked off with such force, which, oh, I'm sorry, I still can't help it, but I gotta kind of laugh at that part. He wonders why a demon is traveling with a human and everything, and basically, anyway, after they defeat that demon, basically, by defeat him, I mean they kick his head right off of his body, but it still moves, so he's still able to fight. But, unfortunately for him, the sun starts coming up right after that, and as you know, as I stated before for this series, when a demon in this series comes into contact with the sun, they burn completely. Ooh. Like a very nasty case of a sunburn, basically. That's all equivalent. That's all I'll compare it to is like a very nasty sunburn, which is rather appropriate. Anyway, then Tanjiro gets surprised by the demon's head getting burned. Well, because even though the demon's head got kicked off of its neck, normally under normal circumstances that would constitute them being killed, but apparently some demons can still... Apparently some of the demons can move around even after their heads are cut off from their bodies, which I think is a really weird thing. And in this one's case, it's especially weird because after the demon's head gets taken off and he's still alive, basically what happens is his head grows arms for him to move around and stuff. And, oh my god, it's so ridiculous. It's so freaking hilarious because it's so ridiculous at the same time. Anyway, and as he's fighting, that's when the sun comes up and then he comes into contact with it and burns, and then that's when Tanjiro and Nezuko leave, and Tanjiro now knows that the sun is really dangerous to them. Which is why he created the basket so that he could carry Nezuko while also being able to travel during the day to protect her from the sunlight. And here's the funny thing about that. I don't know if it's weird, but apparently one of Nezuko's demon powers is she can basically shrink herself, which, like, it's kind of like shrinking, like, you know, she can make herself look smaller and a bit taller at the same time, like, apparently. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, they keep they keep going towards where Urokodaki's location is so that he can start Tanjiro's training to become a demon slayer. And then after that, what happens after that is basically they meet up with him. And he agrees to train. Well, at first he doesn't want to train Tanjiro for the final selection, but he has a good reason for not wanting to. And, well, the reason he doesn't want to is because he's already lost enough students to the final selection process. And I'll explain more about that when I get into the next episode, but I just wanted to bring it up right now since I brought it up. Anyway, and basically Tanjiro starts talking with Urokodaki about him wanting to get trained to become a demon slayer for the final selection process and everything, and he's curious about Nezuko and everything like that, and then after a little while he says he will train him, but he has to pass the test first. He has to survive on the mountain for a little bit, so he does, and well, actually, he has to climb all the way up the mountain, and if he can make it to him by daybreak, he will train him, basically. So that's basically the challenge that Tanjiro has to overcome for this, because he needs to get trained first before he can go to the final selection process. Anyway, that's what I mean when I say the next couple of episodes are going to focus on this, is because the final selection process is a very meticulous process, so he's got to get trained to get prepared, because the reason is with the final selection process, it has a tendency to kill people that want to become demon slayers, because and I'll explain more about that when I get into the next episode. I just thought I'd bring it up though. Anyway, basically what happens is they do the training, and then Tanjiro manages to get up the stairs, and then he collapses from exhaustion. And basically he completes all the tasks that Urokodaki gave him, basically. And so he decides to make him his student. But then it flashes. I'm sorry if this video seems like a little short. It's just, I covered most of what I did for this episode. Like, I covered all the major parts of it, so it's only like 13 minutes. There's not much that happens in this episode, like I said, because Tanjiro's not a demon slayer at this point in the series yet, because of the final selection process. So, but I will admit, the part in the episode that I'm covering where his sister killed the demon just by kicking its head right off of its neck, it's just so funny. And then it grew arms out the side of its head so it could still keep fighting. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I hate to bring that up, but I felt it was necessary to do so. Anyway, since I brought it up. Anyway, Tanjiro does manage to complete the start of his training with Urokodaki for the final selection process, and that's when, well, because he reaches Urokodaki at the top of the mountain after a couple of days and everything like that, and then he collapses from exhaustion because of that. And that's when it flashes back. That's when it flashes back to a letter that Urokodaki got from Giyu before Tanjiro showed up. And basically, in the letter, he basically explains Tanjiro and Nezuko's situation to him. And he knows that this is trivial of him, for him to do, but he asks Urokodaki to basically humor him, basically. So he basically does. And then he tells Tanjiro that he's his new student, and that's basically where this episode stops. Now, I'm sorry I made this video a little shorter than I normally do with these things. It's just, like I said, there's not entirely much that happens in this particular episode, except for the fact of, because the main plot line of this episode in particular is just Tanjiro going to start his training for the final selection process. So, it's not much, but the next video I will cover will actually still continue the training from that point. So there will be a lot more of his training to be covered in the next video. I just wanted to bring that up now before I end the video. But anyway, other than that, well, I will mention that when you gave Urokodaki the message before Tanjiro showed up, he mentioned to him in the letter that basically he saw Nezuko, instead of trying to feast on him, he saw him trying to protect him, which I explained that when I did my previous video. I explained that part. My theory with that was, because before that scene where they were fighting and he was trying to get her off of him, to get her to calm down so she wouldn't lose control, and Giyu showed up to stop her and everything like that, and then he started protecting her. I'm just bringing it up because I'm backtracking because it mentions it anyway. I'm just backtracking to the previous video because it mentions it here anyway. And he says that he knows this is trivial, and he asks him to just humor him. So basically, because of that, well, because basically Tanjiro's test in this episode was to get to the top of the mountain before daybreak, basically. That's all it was. It was just to get to the top of the mountain before daybreak so that he could be trained and everything. And then after that scene, what happens is Urokodaki mentions that Tanjiro is his new student. And that's basically where this episode stops. So, yeah, I'm gonna post this video now after I finish recording it, and anyway, until next time, guys, have a nice day and everything, and until then, peace out.